door and the door panel look okay, but there's something about these doors on old Guppy here that I don't like, and maybe you can figure this out, okay? Look at, see? They're just stiff, and when you open and close them, you can feel it. You have to yank on it to pull it out, and a lot of times you'll think, oh, man, that's a check strap problem. Well, not so fast, okay? This is a common problem on 25-year-old cars like this one, particularly on the rear doors that don't get opened as often. I'm going to use my Miracle Lube with the applicator, and we're going to come in and we're going to lube here, here. We're going to get down on this hinge and lube this one, and then I'll get back in here and put some lube back in on the inside of this door check. We'll work it a little bit, but then I'm going to let this sit for 2 or 3 days. Then I'm going to come back and show you the difference. So we'll get some right up in here. This stuff really wicks. Yeah, I know I should have cleaned this off a little bit more, but for the purpose of this demo, okay. Now I'm just going to work it back and forth. You won't feel a lot of different, well, gee, I'm feeling difference already. So I'll work this here for 3 or 4 minutes. We'll come back in on Monday, and I'm going to shock you with how easily these open and close. Well, I'm back. It's been almost 3 days, and I promised I was going to show you the movement of that right rear door. But in review, I wanted to bring you over to this left rear door because I think it's even worse. Now watch. This is not normal. I'm in the second notch for the door check. When I push on the door, notice it's not wanting to come out of that detent on the door check. And then let's move it a foot away right there. Ready? Now let's push. I'm just going to slap it. Even then it won't close. So back to the right side rear door. Let's take a look. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring it into that second detent. Now watch. I'm just going to give it a slap. You say, well, Kate, you pushed too hard. Okay, let's try it again. Ready? Now, let's go from a foot away. Oh, come on. Oh, almost will close by itself. Okay, watch. I'm just going to push a little bit. How do you like them apples? So it's obvious I have another item to add to my punch list on old Guppy here, but I'm sure some of you are curious about this lubricant. This is something I've developed. After 20 years of working on old cars, for me, the right lubricant's not out there. You use something like WD-40, it's a waste. Or you take lithium grease, it's all over the place, but after a month it's gone, it washes away. So the first criteria was it had to be all synthetic, no petroleum-based. And I got 2 very expensive and high-efficient synthetic lubrications to mix this formula. And what I wanted was, it had to be thin enough to wick, but it had to be thick enough to hold. You see that? Where do you find a lubricant like that anywhere on the market? This is perfect for any kind of hinge, linkages, all those things that you want the lubricant to stay in place, because there's nothing out there that's going to stay very long. I'm talking years. You'll come back a year later and this will still be wet around the hinge or around the ball socket. Let's take a look inside the hinge on this rear door here. Notice what's happened to the lubricant. It's stabilized, it's not running all over the place, and it's provided a film. You can see that film on both the top and the bottom of that pin, and you'll see that after weeks with this lubricant. And that's why I call it Miracle Lube. How many of these old SL top mechanisms ever get lubricated? You know, I think it's something that never happens. I mean, you're talking about the W113 and the R107 primarily, the manual roofs. That's the only thing we're going to address here. But if you've lived with one of these for a long time, you probably don't notice the gradual stiffness in opening and closing the top. Of course, you don't do it that often. Some of you may even avoid putting the top down because of how hard it is to get it down in the boot. So a while back, I set out to develop a lubricant that would work on hinges. I mean, really work, not something you'd spray on like WD-40 or lithium grease. And it had to have these qualities. It had to have the ability to wick, but it had to be thick enough that it would hold and hold for a long time. And then it had to have the ability not to track a lot of dust and dirt. And of course, it had to have the ability not to drip all over the place. You don't want to be lubricating these hinge points in here and having them drip on your head or into your car. And I knew it had to be a synthetic, but there wasn't anything on the market. Most of the lubricants were too thin, they were too thick, and so I set out to develop what I call now is my Miracle Lube right here. And this is a combination. I don't make this, by the way. It's what I mix. It's a combination of two very high performance synthetic lubricants. And it is super slippery. You can't believe how well it holds and how well it wicks, considering how thick it is. So what I want to do today is lubricate this SL top. There's 24 hinge points on this top mechanism. That's 12 aside, and you'll have to pay attention when you're doing it. And that's why I put this spout, very small spout on the end of this, because I literally am only going to put 2 or 3 drips on every hinge point. And then I'll work the top, and then after a day or so, I'll come back and wipe any excess that I find. I hope at the end of this video, you can tell the difference. Sometimes it's hard to see. You see where it's holding here, it's holding there. Maybe it'll drop easier once everything is lubricated up. There it starts down, but it stops. Okay, that's a reference point. I start with this upper section first. There are 6 hinge points here. Notice I set a shop towel in here in case I get any drips that drop down. And the nice thing about this spout is you can get back in here. I think I'll do this one first. You can put a little on the head there and then come in behind and let it drip down. Same thing here. Just a couple drops on the head and then a couple drops in behind here on the washer. Same thing up here. And then I'll come up to this point, come in behind right at the top where that washer is, and let that drop in. And then right here is a tight hinge point, and I'm just going to put this right in the middle, 2 drops. Okay, now I'm just going to work it a little bit. Now I've got to tackle what's down in the hole here. It's going to be a little bit harder for you to see every detail. It's really difficult to angle the camera, but I think you can see it. Notice the blue cloth. Isn't that nice? No drips. What does that tell you? Okay, I'm not going to worry about a cloth here. I'm going to start with this big hinge point right here on this arm. If it's really filthy and dirty down in there, you might want to clean that with some mineral spirits or solvent before lubricating it. But notice how I just get a little drop on there, and then I'll come down and lubricate this down here on both sides. And then there's 2 down deep here. They both have heads, and I get on the head and on the back side. And way down in here is one, and then one right back here. So there might be an extra one in here. It's not really a hinge, it's more of a slider. All right, I've got that covered. Now, I'll go over and do the other side, and then we'll come back, kind of work this a little bit, and see if we can actually witness an improvement. I have both sides lubricated. Now I'm going to just work this top mechanism back and forth a little bit like this, see? Kind of massage those joints. And then what I'll do is I'll take my paper towel, particularly on the top ones, I'm just going to come in and wipe off any excess. And look, got maybe 2 little teeny drips. You see how well that lubricant wicks and holds? And now, for the final test, what do you think? Let's put it down here and see what happens. Oh, isn't that nice? Bang. Once you've done this and you go to put the top up and down, you are really going to feel a difference. So if you'd like to get that lubricant, it is for sale on my website. I'll just put a link in the description below this video. You can also use this lubricant on any type of hinge, door hinges, hood hinges, ball socket joints on linkages. It's absolutely amazing.